Welcome back to Becoming Ultimate Masters. Today, we're diving deep into Kabbalah,
Ooh,
a topic that I think is often shrouded in mystery and a lot of intrigue.
yeah.
And it's interesting to me how, this ancient wisdom has kind of popped up everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost become like a buzzword.
It really has. It's true. You can add Kabbalah to anything these days, and people are instantly hooked.
Right. Like Rabbi Jacobson even joked that the Kabbalah of Donald Trump could draw a crowd.
Yeah.
So let's put aside the hype for a minute and really explore what Kabbalah means, especially for you.
Okay.
So at its core,
At its core, Kabbalah is all about receiving.
receiving.
Yeah. The word itself simply means reception.
Okay, receiving sounds simple enough,
Yeah.
but how does that apply to something as deep and complex as Kabbalah?
Well, think about it. True learning, especially when it comes to matters of the heart and soul, requires an open mind, a willingness to receive new ideas and perspectives.
Yeah.
It's about approaching knowledge with humility,
Right.
like an empty vessel ready to be filled.
So instead of like trying to force our own interpretations or preconceived notions onto these teachings, we need to approach them with a sense of openness and receptivity,
Exactly.
almost like a child,
Yeah.
eagerly absorbing everything around them.
It's about cultivating what might call Kabbalah mode, that childlike sense of wonder and a genuine desire to learn.
This reminds me of what we read about Abraham's search for God.
Yeah.
He was surrounded by idols and false beliefs,
Yeah.
but he was so determined to find the truth.
Right. And his journey ultimately taught him that the path to connecting with the divine
Yeah.
wasn't about striving or forcing things.
Oh,
It was
huh.
about surrendering,
Hmm.
letting go of his own limited understanding to allow something greater to emerge.
So it's not about conquering knowledge,
Right.
but about allowing ourselves to be transformed by it.
Precisely. You can't force a flower to bloom.
Yeah.
You have to create the right conditions and
Yeah.
let it unfold naturally.
Right.
The same applies to spiritual growth.
This makes me think of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai,
Mm-hmm.
or Rashbi, who achieved this profound spiritual state, but then he had to return to the world to teach and share what he'd learned.
Right.
It wasn't about staying in that elevated state,
Right.
but about bringing that wisdom back down to earth.
That's a great point. Rashbi exemplifies this idea of receiving and then sharing, of using what you've learned to make a positive impact on the world. He also demonstrated the power of seeing the good even within difficult situations.
Yeah.
Like in the story of Rabbi Akiva and the destruction of the temple.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Even amidst tragedy, Rabbi Akiva could see the potential for rebuilding and renewal.
Yeah.
It's an incredible example of how a receptive mindset can transform even the most challenging experiences.
Absolutely.
But for centuries, this kind of wisdom was so closely guarded, shared only with a select few.
Yeah.
How did Kabbalah become more accessible to everyday people?
It's an interesting shift. Think of it like this.
Okay.
A king has a precious gem, but his child falls ill. He sacrifices the gem to save his child because drastic times call for drastic measures.
Yeah.
Rabbi Jacobson compares this to the sharing of Kabbalah in times of crisis. Sometimes we need to reveal the most precious wisdom to help humanity heal.
And that's where figures like the Ari come in,
Right.
teaching that revealing this inner wisdom is actually a mitzvah,
Yes.
a good deed in our times.
Exactly. And that opened the door for the development of Hasidic teachings, making Kabbalah more relatable and understandable to people who weren't necessarily mystical scholars.
Looks like Kabbalah has become more democratized,
Yes.
more available to everyone.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
It means we all have the potential to tap into this wisdom and apply it to our own lives.
Which begs the question,
Yeah.
how can we actually use Kabbalah to connect with our inner selves and lead more fulfilling lives?
One key concept we learn about is seshel.kafia,
Okay.
which refers to concealed intelligence. It's like a bridge between our conscious and unconscious minds, a pathway to deeper awareness.
But here's the catch.
Yeah,
The source material emphasizes that we can't force this bridge open.
right,
It's not about arrogance or aggression.
right,
We have to approach it with effort, diligence, and selflessness.
right.
It almost sounds counterintuitive.
It is a bit paradoxical, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that's the nature of spiritual growth.
Okay.
It's about surrender, about letting go of our ego, and aligning with a greater purpose.
Speaking of aligning with a greater purpose,
Yeah.
the Sephiros are mentioned as these divine attributes
Right.
reflected in our human faculties.
Uh-huh.
Could you explain more about them and how they relate to our personal growth?
Certainly the Sephiras are like a blueprint for understanding the divine forces at play in the universe and within ourselves.
Okay.
Each Sephira represents a specific quality,
Okay.
such as kindness, strength, wisdom, and so on.
Mhm.
By refining and balancing these qualities within ourselves, we can align with our true purpose and tap into a deeper sense of meaning and fulfillment.
So instead of chasing external achievements,
Right.
we can focus on cultivating these inner qualities.
Yes.
Becoming more compassionate, wise, and resilient.
Exactly. It's about shifting our focus from the having mode to the being mode,
Okay.
aligning our actions with our deepest values.
This is a great place to pause for now.
Okay.
For all our listeners, do you have any thoughts so far about how you might approach knowledge and learning with a sense of receptivity? We'd love to hear your insights.
Yeah.
You can share your thoughts on our social media channels.
Absolutely.
While you ponder that, we'll be right back after a short break to continue our deep dive into Kabbalah.
Sounds good.
Don't go anywhere.
Okay.
We're back and ready to continue our deep dive into Kabbalah.
Okay.
Before the break, we were talking about the Sephiro, these divine attributes that we can cultivate within ourselves. It's like Kabbalah provides this roadmap for personal growth, but not in the typical self-help kind of way.
That's a great observation. Kabbalah isn't about quick fixes or achieving external success.
Right.
It's about inner transformation, about aligning with our truest selves.
And this idea, inner transformation, actually connects to something Rabbi Jacobson talked about, the parallels between Kabbalah and scientific discoveries.
Oh, wow.
He mentioned how the Zohar, a key Kabbalistic text, seemed to predict the explosion of both esoteric knowledge and scientific advancements around the time of the Industrial Revolution.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Both Kabbalah and science are essentially exploring the nature of reality just from different angles.
Yeah.
Science focuses on the physical realm, breaking things down to their smallest components,
Right.
while Kabbalah delves into the spiritual dimensions, underlying forces that shape our existence.
It's like they're two sides of the same coin.
Exactly.
As we learn more about the intricacies of the human body, the complexities of DNA, and the vastness of the cosmos.
Right.
We're also uncovering deeper layers of interconnectedness.
Exactly. And Rabbi Jacobson suggests a powerful shift in perspective.
Okay.
He encourages us to view the world from the inside out rather than the outside in.
So instead of focusing on acquiring more things or achieving external validation, we shift our attention inward to discover our true essence, our purpose. That sounds like a radical shift, especially in a world that often emphasizes external success.
It is a shift, but it's a deeply empowering one.
Yeah.
When you connect with your inner truth, your actions and choices naturally flow from a place of authenticity. You're no longer driven by external pressures, but by a deep sense of knowing and purpose.
It's like you're taking back control of your life, steering it from a place of inner wisdom rather than being tossed around by external forces.
Right.
That brings to mind how we relate to others.
Yeah.
Could this shift in perspective also impact our relationships?
Absolutely. When you approach life from the inside out, you naturally cultivate greater understanding and compassion for others.
Okay.
You're less likely to get caught up in petty conflicts or ego-driven dramas.
Right.
Because you're coming from a place of wholeness within yourself.
So instead of trying to change others
or
manipulate situations to fit our needs, we approach interactions with more empathy and kindness.
Yes.
We're more attuned to the needs of others because we're more in tune with our own needs.
Precisely. It's about recognizing the interconnectedness of all things and approaching relationships with a sense of shared humanity.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember, as we've discussed, Kabbalah isn't a magic formula or a quick fix.
Right. It's not about instant gratification.
Exactly.
But about a lifelong journey of self-discovery and transformation. And it requires a willingness to challenge our assumptions and be open to new ways of seeing ourselves in the world.
That's right. As Rabbi Jacobson said, the more you want it, the less you'll have it.
It's another one of those paradoxes. But it makes sense. The more we grasp or try to force things, the more we resist the natural flow of growth.
Exactly. It's about surrendering to the process, trusting that the wisdom will unfold in its own time. Remember that Kabbalah mode we talked about earlier?
Yes.
That childlike sense of wonder and openness. That's essential for allowing this transformation to take place.
So it's about approaching the journey with humility and curiosity. Just like a child exploring the world for the first time.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
And just like a child's curiosity leads to incredible discoveries, our own willingness to explore with an open mind can unlock new levels of understanding and experience.
This has been an incredibly rich conversation so far.
Yeah.
And I'm already feeling inspired to integrate some of these Kabbalistic principles into my own life.
That's great.
But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's take a moment to recap some of the key takeaways.
That's a great idea. Let's pause here and give our listeners a chance to reflect on what we've covered so far. What stands out to you as particularly meaningful or relevant to your own journey? We'll be back after a short break to delve deeper into the practical applications of Kabbalah.
Welcome back to Becoming Ultimate Masters. As we wrap up our deep dive into Kabbalah, let's shift our focus to practical applications.
Okay.
Because it's all well and good to explore these concepts.
Right.
But how do we actually integrate them into our daily lives?
That's the crucial question. Kabbalah isn't just a theoretical framework. It's a path to be walked.
Okay.
It's about embodying the wisdom, not just memorizing the facts.
So instead of just acquiring knowledge, we're aiming for transformation.
Yes.
Like we said earlier, becoming the knowledge rather than simply knowing it.
Exactly. But this kind of transformation takes time and effort.
Right.
It requires a willingness to challenge our ingrained patterns and embrace new ways of thinking and being.
So where should someone start? Are there specific practices or resources that you recommend?
Rabbi Jacobson suggests beginning with study. He mentions his book, The Spiritual Guide to Counting the Omer, and his website, meaningfullife.com, as valuable resources for those starting their journey.
And remember, even small steps can lead to big changes.
Right?
Dedicate a few moments each day to reflect on these principles.
Yeah.
Even a little bit of consistent effort can make a world of difference.
That's such an important point. Consistency is key.
Yeah.
It's not about sporadic bursts of enthusiasm, but about cultivating a steady practice of inner exploration and growth.
And for those who feel ready to dive deeper, maybe celebrate Lag BaOmer by committing to more in-depth study or connecting with a teacher or a community that resonates with you.
That's a wonderful idea. Lag BaOmer is a celebration of light and revelation, a perfect time to connect with the inner light of Kabbalah.
Yeah.
It's about celebrating the potential for growth and transformation that exists within each of us.
I love that. So as we conclude this deep dive,
Yeah.
I'd like to leave our listeners with a challenge. What's one practical step they can take this week to integrate Kabbalah into their lives?
Here's a powerful practice for the next week. Try approaching one aspect of your life with that sense of receptivity, that Kabbalah mode we talked about.
Right.
It could be anything: listening to a loved one with an open heart, approaching a challenging situation with curiosity instead of judgment, or simply paying attention to your breath and the sensations in your body.
It's like conducting a little experiment in our own lives.
Yeah.
Seeing how this shift in perspective changes our experience.
Precisely, and pay attention to what shifts within you.
Okay.
Notice how your perspective changes how your interactions feel different. You might be surprised by the insights and transformations that emerge.
And don't forget, you don't have to do this alone. Share this episode with a friend or family member who might be interested in exploring these ideas with you.
Absolutely.
Learning and growing together can deepen the experience.
That's a great suggestion. Sharing these insights can spark meaningful conversations and create a ripple effect of positive change.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the fascinating world of Kabbalah.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us on this journey of discovery.
It's been a pleasure exploring these profound teachings with you.
And to all our listeners, remember to check back daily for a new episode of Becoming Ultimate Masters.
Yeah, we have some amazing deep dives lined up for you, exploring a wide range of topics to inspire your journey of growth and transformation.
And if you're looking for more guidance and support on your journey, visit us at www.ultimatemasters.org/coaching or WhatsApp us at +2 5 6 7 7 1 3 2 4 119.
We'd love to connect with you and help you unlock your full potential.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep shining your light. May your journey be filled with wonder, meaning, and connection. And don't forget to share this episode with others who might be blessed with this information.